Joining us now in Studio B is Uncle B, Blaine Fowler, dual threat analyst, all-around good man. Blaine, welcome back to the show. And on a big day, Nick Emery returns for BYU basketball. What do you expect from him tonight?
Effort, like you guys talked about, but you think about him offensively because he was such a reliable scorer. So he's not a guy that when he catches the ball and he's open on the wing, you're like, oh, I'm not sure. You just expect him to knock down an open three. You expect him to knock down a shot in transition. You expect him to want the ball at the end of a game. And there's one thing for a guy to want the ball at the end of the game and say, hey, give it to me. And it's another thing for the rest of the team to go, yeah, this is the guy we want to have the ball in his hands at the end of a game. And so he brings that from, historically, and we've seen it. He's performed in those conditions offensively. So I think that's a given. But what people don't realize is that he's a very good defender. He's a really good on-the-ball defender. His lateral quickness is excellent, but he's strong. And so basketball is a contact sport, and there's contact if you're in good position, and he always comes away from that contact in a positive way. Hardnet's the same way. I feel like Hardnet's a good transition defender because he can go take the basketball. First rule of transition D, stop the ball. He's able to take that guy with the ball and either deflect them toward the sideline or make him give up the basketball, which slows down the fast break and gives other people time to recover. Emery does the same thing. So he can do that. So now you've got two guys out on the perimeter that can guard a penetrating type player and do a good job with it, and you have another guy that's really good in transition defense at taking the ball and stopping the basketball. And let's face it, when you score over 100 and you lose, your problems aren't on offense. So what they need him to do is to raise the level of this whole team with his energy, his mindset, and his commitment to defense. The scoring will come. He's just a good scorer. He's a confident scorer. But I think the place that he can help this team the most is on the defensive end of the floor.
What's realistic to expect from him tonight? Because he's gone through some serious stuff, NCAA sanctions, divorce, all of this public, right? What do you expect from him in his first game? Because that could take a toll on you.
Yeah, and it's so do I expect him to go out and score 20? Well, he could. Like, he's capable of that, but I don't expect that he does that because I think it's a lot easier to fit in on defense if you haven't been playing than it is to try to figure out where your shots are coming from on offense. So let's say he's 8 to 12 points scoring. I think that would be great contributions off the bench. If he does more than that, anything more than that is a big bonus. But where I'm watching is when he comes into the game, does a level of intensity on defense change? And does BYU play better defensively in this game than they have in these last 3 ball games? If he does that, then I'm going to come away from the game and go, okay, his coming back just had a major impact on this basketball team. He doesn't have to go out and score 17 or 18 or 20 for me to see that he has a big impact. I'm looking to see what he does defensively.
BYU's lost 3 straight, and rare is a 4-game losing streak under Dave Rose. I believe it's only happened one previous time in his 12-plus years of coaching in the head coach position at BYU. So if BYU beats Utah State tonight and they can figure it out and get it done against Utah at a neutral site at the home of the Utah Jazz on Saturday, are they officially back on track?
Yeah, I think this week can get them back on track or can further compound their problems. Utah's kind of in a rebuild year this year. Utah State is really good right now. They haven't played as challenging a schedule. That's why they're not a favorite in this game in the Marriott Center. But it's a team that shoots the ball extremely well. And they got size out on the perimeter. I mean, Sam Merrill's 6'5", a 6'5" shooting guard that's hitting almost 52% from the field and 44% from 3 and 90+ from the free throw line. He's like playing lights out right now. And so this is a big challenge for BYU. So this is one, I think it's a single-digit game. I really do. And then
you say 7 or fewer?
Yes. Is that 3 possessions? Is that what you guys are saying? Yeah, I would say 7 or fewer in this ball game is the way this one will come down. And that's where Nick Emery really helps, because I would not be surprised to see Nick Emery on the floor down the stretch when they have to get those tough baskets, when everybody's attention, the last 3 minutes of a game, all of a sudden all teams have the energy to play defense when it's a close ball game. So points become tougher. Effort on both sides becomes tougher. That's when I want Nick Emery on the court, because not only can he score if they leave a pathway to the basket, if TJ drives and kicks, he's a reliable shooter, and he's also good with the ball in his hands about understanding, wait a minute, they're double teaming me. Where is it coming from, and where do I kick the basketball to get other guys shots? So I think he's a game ender. Well, I would not be surprised in a close ball game if he's on the floor at the end of the game.
How quickly before he's a starter, if he is a starter?
But I think it takes a couple of games. I think it takes a couple of games to see if he truly impacts this team defensively. Then Dave has to make a decision. Do I like him coming off the bench?
Yeah.
Where he might be a mismatch against the number 2 guy coming off the bench for the other team? Or do I need him as a starter? Is he making that big of a difference that I need to start him and bring somebody else off the bench? There's a fine line there between what you need. And sometimes a guy's really, really good off the bench because where he might match up really well with the other team's starters, he can dominate the other team's second group. And so you go, oh, I want that guy coming off the bench. That's where depth pays off. And for Dave right now, he's got this fine balance right now. They've changed philosophically what they want to do offensively this year. Not because Heath Schroyer's gone. He and I have had long talks about this. They went to more of a half-court game and a lower-scoring because that's where Elijah was more comfortable last year. So they based it on the personnel, not, oh, Heath Schroyer's here, we're going to do something completely different. They evaluated the talent and said, this is a better half-court team than a transition team. They evaluated this talent this year and said, okay, with Elijah gone, we're going to be better scoring in transition. And they've been better offensively. But you go and look around the country, there's very few teams that can score 85-plus a game and also be really good defensively. Because when you grind it on offense, you take something out of that other team when they're on defense that takes away from their offense. So if you're just running and you're putting the ball up quicker in the shot clock and you're scoring a bunch of points, it's really, really difficult to be as good defensively. And so Dave is now, after these last 3 games, trying to go, okay, do we back off a little bit offensively and make the other team work a little harder? What adjustments? There's got to be a balance there, and they got to figure that out because they're playing very differently offensively than they did last year. Not because of a coaching change, because of a personnel change.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Utah State would respond in an up-and-down game with BYU, because I think that just based on what Utah State typically does, they like to grind it out, and they play really hard-nosed defense. So I'm fascinated to watch how that all plays.
This is going to be a really fun matchup tonight.
Okay, let's go to football now, Blaine. BYU and Western Michigan. Wouldn't you know it, the Cougars and the Broncos on the Boise Blue in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl on Friday, December 21st. What do you think about the matchup and the opportunity for BYU in the postseason?
First of all, we need to wear all blue in that game so we can do what Boise State does.
But the uniforms are cursed.
It's like, why didn't you cover that guy? I didn't know he was there. He blended into the turf.
I couldn't see him.
I couldn't find him. No, the Boise State, when they do that, I go, is this fair? So BYU should do that, first off. This is an interesting game because the teams from that conference at the top of the MAC are really physical football teams. Think Northern Illinois. They just beat Northern Illinois. Very sound defensively. So BYU is going to have to play really well. For people to think, oh, this is a MAC team, BYU should just handle them, that's way off, right?
Yeah, see Northern Illinois.
Right. So think Northern Illinois, who gave Utah all they could handle. Utah had to get a pick 6 to win that game against them. And BYU, obviously, we know what the result was in that game. So think that team, very similar. Maybe not quite as good defensively, but maybe a little bit better offensively. And so this is a big challenge. And for me, what's BYU going to do at running back? What are they going to do at running back? That's a big question for me. I think they can, knowing Isaiah is hurt, and they can make some adjustments defensively and still be an elite team defensively. But offensively, if it's cold and snowing up there, which it could be, we don't know that far in advance what it's going to be, and we have to see BYU run the football to be good in it, who's going to be the feature back? And so that's I went to practice yesterday. I'm not sure who it is right now, and it depends on who's going to be healthy by the time they get there. That's a big concern for me.
Squally Canada's been cleared. It would make sense if he was the guy, but we'll see if Lopini can play. Didn't play against Utah. Yeah.
The problem with Squally is that even though he's cleared with the problems that he's had, you can't say, hey, we got Squally back. He's the guy. He's going to carry the ball 30 times. Can't think that. You have to think, okay, we got Squally. Let's see how long he can go. And then who else is going to carry the load if Squally can't go?
Tyler
the whole game?
Algier, this is his 4th game.
And I think Algier has to be, they got to get him ready to go. They also have to figure out a way to involve those wings in the fly sweep game. So you got to see Hefo get the ball a little bit more. And you may have to go the quick passing game, which you can do in the snow, like screens and bubble screens and that. So offensively, they got to think strategically, what are we going to do because of the lack of running back depth that we have, and how do we change the game plan to accommodate for that? That's my big question going in. I think BYU can hold them down. Defensively, I think BYU is fine, and they can hold them down. It's like, can BYU generate enough points to go win when they have all these questions at running back?
Blaine, fantastic stuff. I'm looking at this flag. Have you signed this flag yet?
I don't think so, right?
Is that a new one?
That's a new flag.
Oh, I haven't signed the new one.
Okay. We need you to sign the flag.
I got this.
Or you signed it twice, whatever.
No, I haven't signed the new one.
Yeah, sign the new flag.
Got this.
Make your mark on our Sailor Coop flag.
I'm colorblind. What color is my shirt?
Royal blue.
It's yellow.
It's royal blue.
This is what BYU needs to wear. All this.
All royal.
All royal and
Western
Boise.
Michigan on the Boise blue.
That's what I'm going for.